what can you tell people who may have come from a much more fortunate background, what's it like living in neighborhoods like that and growing up in a neighborhood like that? I mean, how does a 10-year-old young African American male in a poor part of a major American city where you can't trust the police and don't see how does that young man look at his future?
To me, and again, like it's like to so where I grew up at, like you say, I was on the outskirts, but I was like 5 miles still out, so I still saw all that. But you could just the difference from even where I grew up at to I had some friends that lived right across the line. It was totally different, and it was only a 2 or 3 mile difference. And it's exactly what you said because, you know, for a 10-year-old to try to get him out of that mindset, that's what he sees every day and knows every day. It's going to be hard to get him to see it differently. And even if he does see it different, or gets to a point where he can start seeing it different, right? It's still going to be in him that at any given moment, any given situation, that comes to him, or her, that reverse them back to that, they're going to react that way. And the prime example to me is like a lot of these athletes. A lot of the basketball athletes and football athletes, they come from environments like that. And now they come out and they automatically say to them, okay, you got money now, right? Stop acting like that. But they only 20, 21 years old. So they're only 3 or 4 years removed from that. The only thing that happened was you just glorified them now as that same person with more money. So it's like, how do you get them to get that mindset? You just got to hope that when they get out and they get around other people, that they have a like mind, and they get close enough or look up to them enough to hear what they're saying. Because a lot of times you can say something to them. Because even like now with coaching, it's like you know, like even coaching at Wise, it's predominantly black, but I coached at Bladensburg, and the environment of the kids that come and are playing for you, even within that 10-mile radius is totally different, because the ones that at Bladensburg, they growing up in apartments, they single families. The ones at Wise, a lot of them have two-parent homes and things like that. So even with that, you can see the difference where you can say something quicker to a kid at Wise, and they'll kind of take to it a little quicker, even though they're kind of in a STEM environment, but they're not fully living in that environment. So a kid at Bladensburg, you have to work harder to try to get them. And fortunate enough that you know, when you get a group of individuals that are working with them, to me, you have to do it the way you get by that. What your question is you get into an environment like that where this kid wants something. They want to play football. They may not want to go to school yet or class and that kind of stuff, but they want to play football. So what I do is, the way I get to them is I first build that relationship. This is my dad told me about how to get into coaching. My dad said, don't coach them just to teach them X's and O's, because you're going to have to be a father, a mentor, a brother, a cousin, a friend, and you might have to be a coach, but you got to get to know each individual one. And once you get to know them and they build trust in you, that's how you get to them, because then they start looking up to you, and then you try to bring them around other environments and things like that they're not used to, that they haven't seen before. And once they see it, it kind of opens their eyes up, and you get them in that young enough age, but a lot of them don't get that.
Because, and I interject here, I'm going way back into my personal experience, because now this is the white guy talking now. I mean, I grew up in a 2-parent household, but I had 2 parents, neither of whom graduated from high school. My father, I think, was 20. My mother was 16 when they got married.
Wow.
By the time my mother was 20, she had 4 kids.
Wow.
And my father's working like 3 jobs
Right.
just to pay the bills and put food in everybody's
Right.
mouth. And when my mother eventually went to work, she worked as a domestic, man. She's cleaning people's houses and this kind of stuff. So you're going to school, looking at kids in the same class with you, knowing that your mother's somewhere today scrubbing their toilet.
Right.
That's where you're coming from.
Right.
And so basically, when you got 2 people, and I'm not here to tear my parents down. That's a whole other. That's a subject of a totally separate podcast.
Right.
But you're talking about 2 really young people, babies having babies, and not prepared to be parents. So I'm trying to step into the minds of some of these young men. Because when I was a teenager,
I think about that.
when I was a teenage kid playing high school football, I remember it vividly. Like every summer, like August, the local newspaper would come out with like the football preview, and they had like all the kids on the varsity team, and they had under my name. The coach said, "He's quiet, but you know when he hits you."
Right.
Because I was angry. I was an angry young man,
Right.
and being on a football field or at practice,
But your opportunity to get that out.
I could drop somebody's ass, and I didn't have to worry about getting arrested for it.
Nothing.
And I got threw out of a game my senior varsity. I got in a fight with the star player on the other team. I was an angry young man.
Yeah.
I was frustrated about
Right,
life and how it worked.
exactly.
And that was a place to take it out. And I was very undisciplined, but very smart. Thought I knew better than everybody else. I wouldn't go listen to Coach Over. Just screw him, man. What you gonna tell me? So do you see a lot of that in your coaching?
Yeah, I'll give you a prime example. There's a young man at Bladensburg, and he had eventually, prior to me getting there, he had gotten put out because of fights. So I was like, well, I mean, fights. I mean, like, how many fights was he getting in? Somebody told me, just Google Bladensburg fights. No name, no nothing. Wow. I Googled Bladensburg fights. Every fight I saw, he was in. So I see why he got kicked out. So the next year, a coach who lived in that neighborhood and knew a lot of the kids, he knew him. So he was like, hey, he wants to come back. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, can I meet him? You know, so he came up, met him, we talked, and when we talked, he didn't seem like a violent type of young man at all. It was just, like you said, you know, he was angry, you know, so the example of what you're talking about, and it's like you talk about how you got in a fight and got kicked out, so little by little, I was able to build a relationship with him, and I was trying to talk to him about him controlling his anger on the field. In between the whistle, hit him as hard as you want, no punching or nothing, but you can tear him up, okay? And then you play linebacker, so you can hit people as hard as you want. You know what I mean? So it was one game we were playing, Parkdale, and I saw where he was like, this guy kept kind of like cheap shopping. And I saw where he was like, he was kind of like getting back at him a little bit. So before he did it, we came out to the sideline. I said, give me your helmet. He was like, well, I said, just give me your helmet. So he gave me his helmet. So he went back out for defense. He came to get his helmet. I said, no, you just go sit down and relax for a little while. So naturally, he was angry. So we had a little exchange. I said, well, you can get as mad as you want. You can leave. Right? So he went and sat down. About 2 series later, he came back and he said, Coach, I think I know what you're doing. Like that. I said, are you sure? And he was like, yes. I said, okay, we'll talk about it after the game. So I gave him his helmet back. He went out there. After the game, we talked. And then he said to me, he said, I know. He said, you saw me get ready to lose my anger. He said, you wanted me to learn how to control it. And after that, he was pretty much the rest of the season, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, prime example.
See, so and you led right to the point is young white kid, young black kid.
Right.
Same stuff.
Same thing,
stuff.
Same thing.
And I go back, I just made me think of something way back, because when I was like, I don't know, 9th grade, we went away to, the only year that we did this, we went away to a football camp, like Bucks County up above Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And we were sharing this camp in the, like they said the mountains, it was more like big hills.
Right.
Mountains. But it was us, and there's another school, and they no longer exist. They've been merged into like a regional high school, but it's called Darby Township,
Okay.
which wasn't in Philly, but they butted right up against
Right,
Philly.
yeah.
98% of the kids in school were African American. So, not like some schools you'd find in PG County.
Right.
So we went to football camp with these guys. We're a bunch of their team. I think they had 100 guys on the team, and there was literally there was one white guy.
Right.
Our team, I think we might have had 60 guys on the team, and there's literally 3 black guys.
Right.
You talk about like these two images.
Total opposites, right?
They're sharing camp, and then we literally like this after like the first 3 days of practices. 4th day there was a scrimmage between the 2 teams. Turned into a brawl.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Like the freshmen were all like, oh, but we're too scared to rather go play.
Right.
And I'll never forget this. Like the coach of Darby Township was this huge black. He's a mountain of a man. He's just grabbing players from both piles, just grabbing by the scruff of the neck and throwing them off. And I'm going, respect that guy. Don't mess with that guy. But you know. And our coach got really mad at us so much that he like got in his car and drove off and did stuff like that. Blah 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 blah. And we got the hard lecture about discipline. You're here to learn to be men and play. You're not here to jump in fights with these guys. Blah blah blah. And to be fair to like our guys, it wasn't a racial fight.
Right.
we were going to fight with anybody we played against.
It's-
We were just,
it didn't matter, right?
we were from like a not an affluent rural area, and a lot of people on the team I played on, we had a lot of frustration with life, and you know, it's that prideful don't
Right.
disrespect me, and it's just like you're young, your hormones take over, and you're just
Right.
wailing away on
Right.
each other, right?
Yeah.
But then, so we got all that out of our systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the next day, the coach said, "Another fight, you're all getting in the bus, we're going home,
Right.
and we're going to cancel the season."
And you don't want that.
We don't want that.
Right.
But what I'm coming back to a point is how similar we all are. So the freshman, you're like the pledges at the Naval Academy
Right.
or something, man. You get dumped on. So like you got to serve the dinner to the upperclassmen before you can eat.
Yep.
You got to stay after and wash the dishes, right? And we had a shared mess hall, so you have all the Darby Township guys on one side, we're all
Right.
sitting on the other side. And then they made us put on a show, so we get to get up there and the freshman guys sing songs, do stupid stuff, and all the upperclassmen on both sides we're all laughing at us. 'Cause
Right. 'Cause
and it's
everybody's
like,
watching the
but it's
same
like
thing.
bonding.
Right.
So
Exactly.
then, but then after the meals, like there'd be like a half a dozen freshmen from our high school and half a dozen from their high school. We had to like wash dishes and put everything away. And I'll say this in front of everybody. And all of us ended up out behind the mess hall after that. We're all smoking weed together.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't sit out there in suburbia and go, "Oh, those kids in the seat."
Right.
We're doing tough. We're all out there, and guess what? One of our guys had the best weed. I'm just saying.
Right.
So, and the whole point of that discussion is, it's the same.
It's
It's
right.
the same.
Right.
It's the same.
Right.